Welcome to Bible in a Year with Brotherhood Foundry. This is day 5. We're going to be getting into the book of Job, chapters 1 and 2, after a reading of the outline, as we've been doing. Although Job is set in the patriarchal period, its date of writing and author are unknown. Jewish tradition places the authorship of Job in the time of Moses, approximately 1440 BC. A little background. In Job's era, wealth was measured in possessions of cattle and servants. Like other Old Testament patriarchal family heads, Job performed priestly duties, including offering sacrifices for his family. And like the patriarchs, Job lived to be more than 100 years old. Geographically, the events took place in the northern Arabian Peninsula, in the land of Uz, often associated with Edom. The book of Job demonstrates that God is sufficient and trustworthy for every situation in life. Along with this truth, Job portrays other additional themes. Job was a man of character, and God testified to his consistently blameless character. As Job saw it, God does not appear always to reward a blameless and pure life. Job stated that his righteousness was the central issue in his situation, yet he wondered how he could convince God of this. All three of Job's friends condemned Job's attitude as self-righteous. Job wanted to receive justice, renounce injustice, and model justice. Job felt that God had not always dealt justly with him. Rather than championing his own righteousness, Job is called to understand God's essential righteousness by which he justly governs the universe. In the book of Job, we are reminded that suffering comes to everyone, the righteous and unrighteous alike. God does not always keep the righteous from danger or suffering. Ultimately, God controls all of life's situations, including limiting the power of Satan. The book of Job demonstrates poignantly that God's comfort and strength are always available to the trusting soul. A key verse, "But I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the end he will stand on the dust." Job, chapter 1. There was a man in the country of Uz named Job. He was a man of complete integrity who feared God and turned away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. His estate included several thousand sheep and goats, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large number of servants. Job was the greatest man among all the people of the East. His sons used to take turns having banquets at their homes. They would send an invitation to their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. Whenever a round of banqueting was over, Job would send for his children and purify them, rising early in the morning to offer burnt offerings for all of them. For Job thought, "Perhaps my children have sinned, having cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's regular practice. One day, the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from?" "From roaming through the earth," Satan answered him, "and walking around on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? No one else on earth is like him, a man of perfect integrity, who fears God and turns away from evil." Satan answered the Lord, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Haven't you placed a hedge around him, his household, and everything he owns? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he owns, and he will surely curse you to your face." "Very well," the Lord told Satan. "Everything he owns is in your power. However, do not lay a hand on Job himself." So Satan left the Lord's presence. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and reported, while the oxen were plowing and the donkeys grazing nearby, the Sabaeans swooped down and took them away. They struck down the servants with the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you. He was still speaking when another messenger came and reported, "God's fire fell from heaven. It burned the sheep and the servants and devoured them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." That messenger was still speaking when yet another came and reported, The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, made a raid on the camels, and took them away. They struck down the servants with the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." He was still speaking when another messenger came and reported, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. Suddenly, a powerful wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on the young people so that they died, and I alone have escaped to tell you." Then Job stood up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. He fell to the ground and worshipped, saying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will leave this life. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Throughout all this, Job did not sin or blame God for anything. Chapter 2. One day the sons of God came again to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before the Lord. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from?" "From roaming the earth," Satan answered him, "and walking around on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? No one else on earth is like him, a man of perfect integrity who fears God and turns away from evil. He still retains his integrity, even though you incited me against him, to destroy him for no good reason." "Skin for skin," Satan answered the Lord. "A man will give up everything he owns in exchange for his life. But stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face." "Very well," the Lord told Satan. "He is in your power. Only spare his life." So Satan left the Lord's presence and infected Job with terrible boils, from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself while he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." "You speak as a foolish woman speaks," he told her. "Should we accept only good from God and not adversity?" Throughout all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Now when Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all this adversity that had happened to him, each of them came to his home. They met together to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they looked from a distance, they could barely recognize him. They wept aloud, and each man tore his robe and threw dust into the air and on his head. They sat on the ground with him 7 days and nights, but no one spoke a word to him because they saw that his suffering was very intense. This is the end of the first 2 chapters of Job, which make up today's reading. It's pretty clear that Job has lost a lot, everything. Aside from his wife, his entire family, all of his possessions, all of his cattle, basically all of his servants, just the few who came to deliver messages, even his health. He's been plagued with boils. And then his friends arrive, and these friends do strike me as good friends because they understood that the best they could do is simply be with him, and that there weren't really words for his suffering. It's good to highlight how much Job cared for his children, in that he was regularly burning offerings for them, just on the off chance that they've sinned. He cares for them that deeply, just to underline the hurt that he must feel at their loss. And there's moving goalposts here with Satan, saying, "Oh yeah, take away his stuff and he'll curse you." Okay, his stuff's gone. Now what? Okay, well, take his health from him, and then he'll curse you. Okay, you took his health from him. Now what? He's still not cursing you. His wife is urging him to curse you, but he's still not cursing you. Job's line here, when his wife tells him to curse the Lord, he tells her that she speaks as a foolish woman speaks. Job doesn't just know and understand that it's a bad idea to curse God. He's clearly internalized that God is good and he gives us whatever we need, and he accepts that God will give and take the good and the bad, and we don't necessarily get to know why. And he's not anywhere near ready to curse God simply because of his current, though extreme misfortune. Those are my thoughts on the first two chapters of Job. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time.